Hello, indie filmmakers. My name is Jeff Deverett. I'm the founder and CEO of the Indie Film Community, a new and innovative platform created specifically to assist filmmakers like you in getting your films financed, produced, and distributed, and hopefully helping you make lots of money. Being a successful indie filmmaker is extremely challenging. The truth is that only 2 out of 100 indie films actually make money. That's only 2%. It's a very upsettingly low number. And the main reason for that is because most indie filmmakers do not know how to do distribution and marketing. They make a great movie, but then they don't know what to do with it, and they end up getting screwed in a bad distribution deal, or the film never gets released. It's such a shame. All of the hard work, time, effort, and money that goes into making a great movie, and it never even gets a chance to play in front of an audience. And that's why I created the indie film community, because I want to give indie filmmakers a better chance at successfully releasing their movies and making money. With the tools provided in the indie film community, instead of 2% of indie films making money, I'm confident that we could get that number up to 10%. That's a 500% increase, a 5 times better chance at making money with your films. I know what you're thinking, but that's still just 10%. Only 10 out of 100 films that will make money and 90 that won't. That's still not very good odds. Look, we can pretend that the numbers will be higher, but they likely won't. That's the nature of the film business. It's a very tough industry, and those are the realistic odds of success. You might as well know the truth from the start. So how will we be able to increase the odds 5 times from 2% to 10%? It's actually quite simple. We will show you how to create a comprehensive and strategic distribution and marketing plan. And if you can't do it by yourself, we'll be there to help you do it. A distribution and marketing plan is a detailed roadmap that helps you navigate the critical strategies and components for releasing your movie. It identifies who is your core audience. A core audience are people who will be really excited and anxious to watch your movie. Are they male or female? What age? What ethnicity? What nationality? What's their occupation? The more specific you can get on targeting your audience, the better chance you have of connecting with them. The plan will give you strategies on how to connect with that audience and how to entice them to watch your movie. How will you do your social media campaign? Will you use influencers? If so, which ones? And how much will you pay them? Will you do online advertising? If so, on what platforms? How much will you spend on marketing and where will you spend it? The plan will also outline which streaming platforms you will target and how you'll get onto those platforms, whether it be through a distributor, an aggregator, or directly through self-distribution. It'll map out your game plan for submitting to film festivals and perhaps doing a limited theatrical release. It talks about the design of your marketing materials. What will your trailer look like? What will your key art depict? What will be the final title of your movie? And it gives you a framework for how much to spend on your release campaign and how much revenue you can expect to generate from your efforts. If you have a well thought out and executable distribution and marketing strategy, then you'll have a 5 times better chance of being successful. By the way, that's assuming that you make a good, entertaining movie. If your movie's bad, obviously your chances of success are much lower. Some of you have already made a movie. Some of you have written a script. Some of you just have a great idea and are trying to figure out how to bring it to life. No matter what stage you're at, you need to have a distribution and marketing plan. For those of you with a finished film, the distribution and marketing plan will be your roadmap for successfully releasing your movie. For those of you at the idea or script phase, this is actually the best time to do your plan, because at the idea phase, the marketing plan will give you a very clear view on how to craft your film to cater to your target audience. By knowing exactly who you're targeting and how you'll be connecting with them, you could build certain things into your movie that will help you with making the movie more connectable to your audience. For example, suppose you're making a low-budget horror film. Say that it's a typical 4 teenagers go to a deserted cabin in the woods, encounter a monster, 3 get killed, and 1 gets out alive. Who's the audience for that movie? I know what you're thinking. It's primarily males 18 to 35 who like to be scared. But how do you connect with males 18 to 35? That is a very difficult demographic to connect with because you're competing with lots of other product companies who are vying for their attention. And it's very hard to get their attention, especially with a low budget indie horror film. But what if you were to build some marketable elements into your movie before you make it? For example, what if you gave the character who gets out alive a bit of a backstory? What if you make her into a chess player and she uses her chess strategy to think 3 moves ahead and thereby outsmart the monster? By making her into a chess player, you can specifically target the other chess players in the world. Do chess players want to watch horror movies? Probably not, unless perhaps the hero of the movie is a chess player and uses her chess skills to outsmart a monster. That might be very interesting for chess players to see, not to mention that very few movies feature chess players as lead characters. And there are millions of chess players in the world who can be identified and directly marketed to because they have online chat groups and are members of chess clubs and organizations. So now you've taken a generic horror movie and added a simple element that will connect your film to several million potential viewers who would likely have never taken interest in your movie. You've basically expanded your audience and are giving yourself a much better chance of being successful with your movie. But you could have only done this by pre-thinking about who your audience is and how you'll connect with them. And that's why it's so important to do a distribution and marketing plan before you make your movie, so that you think about these things while you still have a chance to build them into your movie. Because once your movie is made, it's too late to add these things in. And you'll likely say, why didn't I think of that before I made my movie? And by the way, at the idea or script phase, if you can't clearly identify who your core audience is going to be and how you're going to connect with them, then perhaps this should be an indication to you that your movie is going to be much too difficult to release successfully. And maybe, just maybe, you should consider choosing a different movie to make, perhaps one that's more marketable to a more defined audience. If you want to give yourself a 5 times better chance of success, then you need to think about these things before you make your movie. You need to do your distribution and marketing plan as early as possible so that you have a clear roadmap as to what movie you're actually making. Let me give you another example of what I mean. As you may know, I've made 2 movies about women's gymnastics, Full Out and Full Out 2 You Got This. Before making those movies, I mapped out exactly who I would target them to and how I would distribute them. The core target audience was pretty obvious. 10 to 16-year-old girls who either do gymnastics or dance, of which there are over 12 million in the USA. My team and I set up an extensive marketing campaign to reach out directly to thousands of gymnastics and dance studios across the country. We sent them mini posters to hang on their notice boards in their lobbies. We called them, emailed, and connected through social media with over 5,000 coaches and instructors to tell them all about our films and ask them to share the details with their students and teams. We advertised in several gymnastics and dance publications, both in print and online. We did an extensive social media campaign and used some high-priced gymnastics influencers to help us connect to our core audience. We did cross-promotions with various retailers. The list goes on. And all of this was well planned long before we made the movies. Our goal was to maximize our exposure to our audience and thereby entice them to watch our movies. And the plan worked very, very well. 2 months before the movies went on to Netflix, we released them on TVOD platforms and got over 50,000 full-price paid views specifically from iTunes and Amazon. Not only was this financially rewarding, but it was also really exciting to know that millions of people were watching and enjoying our movies and sharing their comments on social media. And by the way, both of those movies were specifically timed to be released in Olympic years when women's gymnastics are front and center in the press. In non-Olympic years, gymnasts still compete, but very few people pay attention to the sport. However, during an Olympic year, millions of people take interest in their national women's gymnastics teams and cheer on the athletes that they never knew existed. Hence, it was by design and planning that we made and released our 2 gymnastics movies in Olympic years, so that we could better draft off the excitement and publicity being created by the Olympics. Here's another example. My team and I recently did a marketing plan for a filmmaker who made a horror film. He made the movie several years earlier, released it, and got very little audience reaction. He wanted our help in trying to reposition and remarket the movie. The client sent us the movie to watch, and 3 people on my team all came to the exact same conclusion, that the so-called horror movie was not scary. What the filmmaker thought was a horror film, we classified as a suspense thriller, and we told him that he was targeting the wrong audience. So we recommended to the filmmaker that he change all of the marketing materials of the movie, including the genre, the title, the artwork, and the trailer. We recommended to make everything more reflect a suspense thriller rather than a horror film. The filmmaker kind of laughed and said, "Jeff, I appreciate that you have a lot of experience and wisdom in this business, but I made the film. I wrote it, I produced it, I directed it, and I edited it. No one knows this film better than I do, and I know exactly what film I made. So who are you to tell me that I made a suspense thriller when I know exactly that I made a horror film?" He was actually upset and disappointed with me. But I looked him straight in the eye and I said, "It's not me who's telling you that. It's the audience. The audience has sent you a message by not watching your movie, and you're not listening. You told your audience that this movie was going to scare them, and they weren't scared. Therefore, you've let your audience down. Just because you call it a horror film doesn't make it into a horror film. What makes it into a horror film is that it's scary. And this movie isn't scary. And if you want audiences to enjoy and watch your movie, you need to call it what it is and target to an audience that enjoys suspense thrillers, not horror." This is a very common situation with filmmakers. Sometimes it's hard to see the forest through the trees. In other words, sometimes filmmakers struggle to be objective about their work. You get so engaged and enthralled in making your movie and telling your story that sometimes you totally lose sight of what the audience is interpreting. You're seeing it one way, but the audience is totally seeing it differently. Remember, to a filmmaker, their film is like their baby. They put their heart and soul into making it, and they're always going to see it from their perspective. Often, they can only see their movie for what they want it to be and not what it actually is. So sometimes a filmmaker needs help from a third-party, non-partisan, totally objective marketing team that can look at their movie the way that an audience will look at their movie and can give them the honest truth of what they think it is. And when you have an honest, truthful, and hopefully accurate idea of who your movie is actually targeted at, then you can do a really targeted and strategic marketing campaign to attract that audience. Otherwise, you'll be wasting a lot of time and money on marketing to the wrong people. Our team can help you see what the audience sees, and we will definitely tell you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. Also, we don't only do this for finished films. We also do it for scripts and even ideas. You can say to us that you have an idea about making a certain movie, and you can describe the plot and characters to us, and then we'll ask you a series of questions to clarify everything, and we'll be able to give you a good idea of who your audience will be and how you should market to them. And this is before you even write a script. And if we think that your movie's not going to work for an audience, we'll tell you that at the time so that perhaps you'll consider making changes or making a different movie. Isn't it better to know these things before you make your movie, when you still have time to change stuff, as opposed to after you make your movie when everything is locked in stone? Let me give you another example of a project that we're presently doing a marketing plan for before the film is actually made. We're working with a client who's making a documentary feature film about an iconic house in Hollywood. It's called the Stahl house, and it was the first modern architecturally designed house in the region. There's 2 storylines in this project. One is about the house itself and its unique contemporary design. This storyline would appeal to people interested in modern architecture and design. The other storyline is about the Stahl family who built the house and their strong, supportive, and inspiring family dynamic. That storyline would appeal more to a family audience, perhaps even a faith-based audience. After doing an extensive analysis of the overall project and the potential audience base, My team and I have concluded that the movie will get much more traction with the architectural audience than with the family and faith-based audience. Even though the family and faith-based audience has the potential to be 10 or 20 times larger than the architectural audience, we've nonetheless concluded that the architectural audience will be much more interested and engaged to see this movie, and hence we're recommending that the movie be far more focused on the house than on the family. We'll still do some limited marketing to the family audience, but we're going to spend most of the marketing budget on connecting with the architectural audience, including architects, interior designers, architectural students, and many others who are interested in cutting-edge contemporary design. Also, every year there's thousands of family movies that get made, and hence lots of competition for the family audience. Whereas there's probably only 2 or 3 movies that will get made about iconic houses. Hence, we'll have much less competition and be able to get much more attention with an architectural themed movie than with a family themed movie. By mapping out this strategy before the movie is made, the filmmaker now has a clear direction and understanding on how to effectively craft the movie to cater it to the architectural audience. Had he not gone through this exercise before making the movie, he would likely have focused on the family theme and would have had a much more difficult time in marketing the movie. The more thought and planning that you can do ahead of time, the more clearer the vision and direction you will have in the overall strategy for making and marketing the film to an audience. So as you can see, if you do your distribution and marketing plan correctly and you do it early enough, you'll give yourself a 5 times better chance of making money with your movie. If you want to take a shot at doing your own plan, no problem. But make sure that you stay really honest and objective about what the audience is seeing and not necessarily what you're seeing. If you need help in doing your plan, we can assist and guide you, and or we can actually do your plan for you. We're experts in doing these plans. Unlike other marketing companies that do plans for all kinds of products and services, our team focuses entirely on film marketing. That's all we do, and we do it really well. If you want us to do your plan, here's what's included. We'll identify your core audience. We'll map out a detailed marketing strategy to create awareness with that audience and to entice them to watch your movie. We'll give you a strategy on how to properly release your movie, whether it be through a distributor, an aggregator, perhaps self-distribution. We'll suggest what streaming platforms or perhaps TV or theatrical or other. We'll show you how to monetize your movie with audiences, in other words, how to make money. We'll give you a clear direction on what your marketing materials should look like. The title of your movie, the artwork, the trailer, the log line, and the description. We'll give you a detailed budget on where and how much money to spend on your marketing campaign. We'll also give you a strategic plan on how to roll out your campaign in stages. And we'll give you a forecast on what revenue to expect from your release. We will basically map out your entire distribution and marketing strategy for you. And after you've made your movie and you're ready to execute your campaign, we can also help you with that if you need assistance. I want to make it very clear that we can't guarantee that every movie will be successful. A lot of the success rests on how good your movie is and how entertaining it is to audiences. But I can say with a lot of experience and confidence that if you do a proper distribution and marketing plan, whether it be at the idea phase, the script phase, or the finished film phase, you will have a 5 times better chance of successfully connecting with an audience and making money with your movie. Distribution and marketing is the key to success.